When I spoke to her, she told me that she was told by elders when she was younger, yeah, there were at least three brothers: Lawrence, Judge, and Edgar. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I'm Nubia, for those of you that are just tuning in. I want to jump back in with names and naming traditions, okay? So what I've noticed in my family is everyone named their children after everyone they're related to. I actually looked into Lawrence's brother, one of the confirmed brothers, Edgar and Judge. I looked into Edgar, and I found a few of his descendants that my mom actually remembered growing up. And I also found those cousins on Ancestry through the DNA matches, which is great. So I was able to confirm for a fact Edgar is a definite sibling of Lawrence. Outside of family telling me this, DNA confirmed this, as well as family trees confirmed this. And I found that his branch of the Hamlins actually broke off into mostly North Carolina. I was able to find Edgar on the 1870 census. I'm like, oh, okay, a brother that I can actually find on the 1870 census, because if you remember, I could not find Lawrence on the 1870 census. I found Edgar listed with a John and Emily and a Frances Hamlin. When I looked at the ages, I thought either something horrible happened or these are not his parents. John was listed at age 25, Emily listed at age 21, Edgar listed at age 10, and Frances listed at age 8. So the conclusion that I drew was John and Emily were a little too young to be the parents of Edgar and Frances, and so as well as Lawrence. So I did a little bit of historical research and traditions, things that ended up happening after emancipation. You have to understand that a lot of families became displaced after emancipation. Prior to that, many had been sold off to different places, states, cities, owners. A whole lot of different things could have happened. Many different scenarios are possible. And it was common for siblings to raise their younger siblings after emancipation if they weren't able to get back in contact with their parents, or if there just wasn't enough space. The Reconstruction era was a very tough era for people to get on their feet, build a home, just get a life together, you know? So there might not have been enough resources for all of these children and all of these family members to even be in the same house. So I came to the conclusion that John, Emily, Edgar, and Frances are all siblings. Now, I will be honest, this is where things get a little speculative on my family tree. I truly do believe all of the people that I found were definite siblings of Lawrence Hamlin, my third great grandfather. But now it's just a matter of continuing to prove my theories. So far, my theories, each theory that I have has been proven or is yet to be proven. Okay? So, Edgar, John, Emily, Edgar, and Frances. And then I looked into Frances. I saw that Frances ended up marrying a woman named Josephine. And they had a child named Israel. And I said, oh, that was a very interesting name. And that's not a name that you hear often. Ultimately, what I ended up doing is once I was able to find some of those siblings, I tried to see if I could find any more information on them and their family that could potentially lead me back to Lawrence. And if not, I'm still finding family because I want to know who they are. So I started working from that point downwards. So who are you? Who is your potential spouse or partner? Who are your children? And I kept doing that, working my way down to present day, to the point where I was actually able to connect DNA matches on Ancestry to my tree because I figured out exactly how we're related. And how dope is that? Frances ended up having a son named Israel, right? When I looked on Ancestry, I couldn't find too much on an Israel Hamlin. I found a few records, but not a whole lot. So I went to FamilySearch.org, and I looked up Israel, and I found two Israel Hamlins, both living in Timmonsville, South Carolina, but completely different ages. This led me to check into the older Israel Hamlin. I found a death certificate. This death certificate had Israel Hamlin And the informant on this death certificate was signed Lawrence Hamlin Sr., my third great grandfather. I said, oh, yes, I made the connection. His death certificate said that he may have been born around 1830. I'm like, okay, that gives me something. There was another sibling that I found of Lawrence's that was born not too far around 1830. It wasn't uncommon for people to have multiple children. Like, I'm talking about a lot of kids. Minimum, you would most likely find, especially Black people living in the rural South, having at least 5 to 7 children over a span of like 20 to 30 years. Like, some of these women were having children well into their 40s, and some of these men were having children well into their 60s. So there were a lot of children during slavery, as well as just in those early days, the Reconstruction era, the 1880s, the 1890s. So I said, okay, I believe this is a sibling of Lawrence. This is what my intuition was telling me. And I asked my ancestors on a regular basis on this journey, please lead me to you. Show me who you are and help me put together, piece together the dots, help me connect them. So I believe Israel Hamlin, who was born around 1830, is Lawrence's sibling. Now, the cool thing about this, if you remember, I could not find any death certificate on Lawrence Hamlin. Israel Hamlin died in 1915. Lawrence Hamlin, second wife, Rosanna Benjamin Hamlin, lists herself as widowed in the 1920 census. And the last census that I could find Lawrence on was the 1910 census. So this means Lawrence had to die between 1915 and 1920. So the window just got a little bit shorter. So I can work with that. So one day I will find out exactly when and how Lawrence died. But until then, we search. Back to Israel Hamlin's death certificate. I saw there was a father listed, and that mother was unknown, but there was a father